I'm Dr. Jeffrey Brown.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into HCAM News Live. I am your host, Tom Nappy, for this brand new edition. And our goal here, of course, is to keep you up to date with everything happening in Hopkinton. On today's edition of HCAM News Live, we'll hear from volunteers, local volunteers from the Seva International organization about their food drive. We also talked with Hopkinton High School Athletic Director Rich Cormier about the fall. And visions of the town, plus the budget. Here is a look.
One of the fundamental reasons Community Hopkinton has successfully navigated the stressful 12 months living under COVID-19 is the community's distinguished collective planning efforts over the past years, which include, amongst many meritorious achievements, making the necessary smart investments that have made Hopkinton a $4.5 billion community, the #1 public school system in the Commonwealth, and the safest small town in the USA. That planning was achieved through collaboration.
At the Town of Hopkinton all-hands meeting, leaders from different departments discussed their vision, goals, and budget ask for the next year.
John Wortman, the best-selling author of Mastering Communication at Work, an executive coach and trainer to cities and towns across New England, is our facilitator tonight.
Because one of the problems in municipal life is that we create goals that are too big to actually achieve in any year. And so each of these leaders worked really hard to say, these are the 3 most important things, particularly during this odd time. Each of them will present after Norman does, and then we'll take a break somewhere around the top of the hour, and then we'll come back and have time to ask questions. In that question time, you can put them in the Q&A if you'd like me to ask them for you, or you can put your hand up and then I will call on you, either because you put it up literally or because you use the functions in Zoom. Again, we're going to go over each person's vision, as well as their big 3 goals, and then the ask that they've put in the budget list that you're going to be prioritizing for us at the end of the night. So if you want to keep track at home, like the scorecard in baseball, you can already be putting these in rank order as you listen to people present, again, their vision, their goals, and their important projects.
Town manager Norman Kamalu was the first to present.
Simply stated, #1, as we're doing tonight, develop a clear, repeatable strategic planning process for the town.
#2,
facilitate the aspirations and processes of the renewed finance team, given that Hopkinton is a growing community and that we are facing a structural budget deficit. This is important for me in terms of preserving and supporting the town's fiscal health.
and #3,
support employee happiness. We have a great team here at Town Hall. We very talented, very smart individuals. We need to keep them here in Hopkinton.
So what is your budget ask to be able to provide better strategic planning, intentional work with the finance team, and then employee engagement and happiness?
All comes down to training and wellness, and the budget ask is $70,000.
And again, each leader is going to do what Norman just did: vision, goals, budget ask, and you want to be thinking about at home, which are the priorities for you if you were going to rank them according to what you care about or your committee cares about most. Which brings us to Chief Slayman. Tell us what your big vision is, and I will just let you talk for the next 3 minutes.
Community risk reduction is a mission.
public safety facility as a collaboration, and succession planning, my champions.
A major concentration for school superintendent Dr. Carol Kavanaugh was housing the growing school community.
Our goals to establish a facility study group to analyze facilities development needs alongside student growth projections and programming needs and expansion, to monitor our Elmwood Statement of Interest with the MSBA, and to plan for major building construction projects, which may mean the reconfiguration of buildings and grade levels for grades 2 to 12. While we would not be thinking right now about doing any updates to pre-K to 2, we have a brand spanking new state-of-the-art facility, Early Learning Center. It's amazing. It's not the kind of facility that you can transform into some kind of elementary school, but our kids transition every 2 years. They go to a 2-3 school, a 4-5 school, a middle school, and a high school. Those transitions are not only somewhat unnatural, but the other piece is that a principal just gets to know them as learners, teachers just, and then they move on to another building. Essentially, in our elementary schools, 50% of the population changes every year. Not really a great model. So while we have the opportunity to reconfigure our buildings, I think we need to take advantage of that. So in terms of our project and budgeting, we will need to hire consultants, engage in engineering and design, and engage in construction projects. You'll be happy to hear this number. 157 million is where we landed. I know when we filled in the spreadsheet, we were at 200 million, but we have just saved this body $43 million in the course of an afternoon.
My goals, simply stated, are to advance the progress of our strategic plan with special attention to 3 of those goals that we've identified. Support the public safety facility group that have been working tirelessly, moving that program forward, and to exceed all expectations of the police reform bill.
Any budget asks?
I'm looking to expand the police department by 1 position. It's $58,000, and that would be in my operational budget, but also recognize that there's another 11,000 estimated cost to benefits.
You can see the full all hands-on meeting at our YouTube page, youtube.com/HCAMTV. You could view the entirety of the meeting over at our YouTube page, youtube.com/HCAMTV. Representatives from the worldwide organization Seva International recently joined me to talk about their food drive, which is raising items for local organizations such as Project Just Because. Here's a look.
As of now, we've already collected the food, and we've been started distributing the food to 4 different pantries. Some of them being Project Just Because, Framingham Shelter, Brockton Church, and Westboro Food Pantry. My role in this food drive project, it was to organize and coordinate which route we will drop the flyers and where to pick up the food. Due to COVID, we even offered to do a pickup to the houses we offered the flyers to. I think that's why this year the food drive was doubled compared to last year.
That's terrific. And
Thank you.
were there a number of towns that distributed food to this program? Was it like a bunch of different food drives?
Yes, there was also one more in Westboro. My fellow friend in Westboro, he's also doing the same thing I'm doing here, organizing and coordinating the flyers and like which route they will be delivering throughout their neighborhood. And they've also started distributing throughout the pantries as well.
Wonderful.
Yeah, and there are other towns also, Tom. In Hopkinton, these boys did it. And in other town, because, Suhas was inspired with Subhanje, what he did here with his friends. He thought like he can have fun at the same time. They are doing social service and, giving back to community. So he was inspired and he did with 23 volunteers over there. But there are in Shrewsbury, in other locations in Massachusetts. So entire Massachusetts, Seva has done a food drive.
That's terrific. And
Yeah.
the food drives, they go to 4 different organizations, you said?
Yeah, from Hopkinton, like we didn't expect this big. I did, me and Madhuri did last, but this year is like, it's literally double. So last year we were able to give for Project Just Because and Bay Path in Marlborough. But this year food came so much from Hopkinton. We distributed to more, like Madhuri said, let's distribute to more other part of the state, our Massachusetts.
Excellent.
Yeah.
A little freeze there. It's a windy day out there, so could be a little interference from that. We'll hope for the best. So Shabanjay, you started this project. What inspired you to do this project? And could you talk about how you coordinated everything?
Since my childhood, I've seen my mom volunteer. And since last year, I was more involved in helping my mom with these activities. And I saw how our small effort could go a long way and be very impactful for the families in need. I feel that everyone's very blessed that they have a hot meal on their table, but some are not that fortunate. And I coordinated this project by splitting up the groups, and we each took our own lanes. Yeah.
Terrific. And the next question I was going to ask you is what was your strategy during the project? But you kind of explained it there. Is there anything that you could add as far as the strategy? Was there a lot of promotion materials and stuff like that?
Well, my goal for the project was to be very efficient and make it fun for everyone who's volunteering. So since we're just a bunch of friends who wanted to help make an impact in the community, I think we all gelled together, and this is one of the reasons why the project went so smoothly.
Is the food drive still going on? Can people still donate items? And what type of items are you looking for? And how would someone donate items?
Yes, thank you for asking these questions. I was waiting for this. Like I said, being part of the food pantry near home, right? Every week, like in a board, every week we get review, like what's we need. And we always get I'm very active in social media. So Kathy, thank you, Kathy, what you do. She always asks for clothes and all these items, but mostly needed items I found so far in most of the shelters are diapers, wipes. That's the most needed item, paper towels. And another important thing, a lot of people miss out is teenagers. Teenagers item is so much missing. I'm just requesting everybody, think you guys are teenagers, go back to your age when you were a teenager. What are the items you needed? Those items, please donate to any shelter, any pantries. Everybody's looking for that.
Perhaps school supplies.
Yeah. Especially with teen, they want like a deodorant. Those things mostly people don't donate, right? And those things, as you grow up, you need all those these kind of stuff. So that is more scarcity in most of the pantries.
Terrific. So it's not just food. There's also some
not
other
just
items
food.
that you
Yeah.
can donate as
Food is
well.
always needed, right? I don't want to insist too much on food. Food is always needed, but these are the items is mostly every time I ask them. And that's why I like when Madhuri talk about the medicine supply, which we can take benefit of. It's not people are using their money. It's just if they don't use that fund, it's gonna they will lose the money. So that's why we gave as a save opportunity. That was Madhuri idea to okay, why not to ask them to buy medical supplies like a pressure machine, right? Blood pressure machine or a diabetic machine or a strips or, cold, like a Benadryl, like a Tylenol, all those stuff.
Be sure to catch my entire conversation with the SEVA International Organization on next Wednesday's Hopkinton Hangout Hour. The program starts at 7 p.m. A whole lot more to come here on HCAM News Live, so stick around. We'll be right back. HCAM programming is supported by our viewers, thank you, and by Phipps Insurance Agency, representing companies such as MapFree Insurance. Their family-owned independent agency is deeply rooted in the communities they serve and offer time-tested insurance products to fit individual needs. Since 1950, Phipps Insurance specializes in home, auto, business, condo, and renters insurance. Well, I told you we'd be right back. And welcome back into HCAM News Live. This past Monday, School Superintendent Dr. Carol Kavanaugh sat down with Jim Cousins on our Hopkinton Hangout Hour program to talk about how cell phones and social media could be a distraction to students. It was a very interesting conversation, and parents, you'll certainly want to listen. Here's a glimpse. School Superintendent Dr. Carol Kavanaugh sat down with Jim Cousins on the HCAM Hopkinton Hangout Hour program to talk about the impact of wireless devices and social media on students.
We could probably go back like 15 years ago. And I remember we were always saying to kids, put your phone away. This is school. Put your phone away. You shouldn't be on your phone right now. There's no time for socializing. But in reality, what we've all come to understand is that that device in kids' hands is not just connections to other people, but it's this sort of rapid paced connection to all the information that they can ever be seeking, right? So someone asks a question, who starred in that movie? Oh, hold on, I'll tell you. And we've just gotten to a place where it's your go-to, right? It's the thing that you do all the time, whether you need to be connected to other human beings or you need information, whatever it happens to be, kids are really attached to these devices now. And it sort of has happened over time. I mean, I'll share a little bit of my worry about students' brains actually being altered, that, you know, some of our kids are addicted to phones. And one of my huge worries is, you know, we keep talking about the mental health crisis among students. But what I can say is that if we had to say what has changed in kids' lives, I would say it is certainly having that phone 24/7. I think, having been a former teacher, I'm very controlled by time. So if somebody told me that my class was going to end at 10:17, from 10:12, 10:13, 10:14, you'd be watching, you'd be squeezing something in. You'd want to make sure that kids weren't spilling out into the hallway. And so you were trying to time the ending of that class right at the bell and leave them with something, right? So you always, and as a result of that, I'm a person who doesn't even go to the watch. I'm always looking for a wall clock wherever I am. And you know, they've become scarcer and scarcer. But my brain is trained to do that. And at home, if the battery, you know, runs out in a clock, or if you've taken the clock down because it's that time of year when you set the clocks back an hour, I'll catch myself looking at that clock several times with frustration because it's not giving me the information I need, or it's not where I want it to be. I think the same thing is now happening to kids with devices, but it's much, much worse. And I always tell the story of when I was teaching high school English, I had a very, very bright student, and he went to Yale undergrad. And I kept in touch with him over the years. And then more recently, he was at UMass Medical School. And, you know, how's it going? I'm sure things are great. I'm sure you're studying hard. And he said, studying is harder than it's ever been. He said, when I was in high school, I didn't have this problem. When I was an undergraduate at Yale, I didn't have this problem. But now that I am at UMass, my brain is now rewired. I can be studying and all of a sudden my phone can be upside down and off. But something in my brain says, stop and check your phone. So I do stop studying and I pick up my phone and I look at it and then I put it back down and I get back to studying. But somewhere around 8 or 10 minutes later, my brain will tell me again, stop and check your phone. And I do. Said it's so hard to have that kind of continued thinking. And now, you know, here's a kid that I would think probably had very good self-control. Imagine our kids who are way into this phone. They are so into the demands of it socially that every 2 minutes they want to check that phone. How does a kid concentrate to be able to do that kind of sustained learning? It's so, so hard, I think.
You could check out the whole program at our website, hcam.tv. You can watch the entire conversation with Dr. Carol Kavanaugh over at our website, hcam.tv. We recently sat down on our weekly sports program, HCAM Sports Talk Live, which airs every Wednesday at 3 p.m. to talk with athletic director Rich Cormier about the fall 2 season which starts this coming week with swimming on March 8th. We'll show you more about what's coming up, but first, here's a glimpse at the conversation we had with Athletic Director Rich Cormier about what to expect this season.
We were able to get there. Almost all of our teams got to 10 games, which is what we were hoping to accomplish. We did have one team that was only able to get to 9, which was unfortunate. But again, there was definitely a lot of situations that we had to get through this winter, but we did. And I think ultimately the kids who participated had a great experience. Certainly one they won't forget. Now we quickly turn the page right into the next season.
And I do want to mention we have Kevin Stone on with us as well from the Metro West Daily News. He might jump in with a question or two.
Mm-hmm.
But we do have the Fall 2 season coming up next, and we're going to have some March and April football and some girls volleyball, also some unified basketball and swimming.
Mm-hmm.
How did everything go planning-wise for the upcoming Fall 2 season? And I understand the teams are in practice right now. How's everything going?
Knock on wood, things are going really, really well through these first few days. The fact that we're now in our 3rd COVID season, for lack of a better way of explaining it, I think we're getting pretty adept at managing the different modifications that are thrown at us by the state EEA, as well as the MIAA and the different modifications. And one of the nice things is that as we've moved through the year, there's certainly some challenges that we still have in the mask wearing and the distancing and some of the rules that we have to abide by. But one of the nice things has been that the rules of the games have largely started to become more traditional. Whereas in the fall, you take soccer and field hockey, for example, those sports were drastically altered in terms of the rules of their games. We saw some alterations in basketball and hockey, but really, for the most part, the games were still the games. And then now, football, volleyball, again, during the games or the matches, they're pretty much being played as they should be. The biggest challenge for swimming and diving, which is another one of our Fall 2 sports, is that those meets are being held virtually. So that is a significant change, not having an opponent sort of in the lane right next to you that you're kind of competing against. So that's a significant change for sure. But most of our sports are starting to be played a little bit more like they should be, at least in terms of the rules. Again, the mask wearing and some of the bench areas and things like that are certainly still very, very different.
So not a whole lot of differences in football at all?
No, in terms of the rules of the game, it's some really minor stuff in terms of like huddles, for instance. You all have to be facing the same direction, instead of kind of coming together in a circle, really sort of limited type things. I think the biggest change for football, honestly, is that we can't use locker rooms, and just given the equipment that's involved in playing football. But in terms of when they're out there on the field playing, the game is going to be the game of football. And same with volleyball. Again, there's some small rules, and this is true in football. We got to sanitize the balls and the equipment and stuff like that. But again, when a volleyball match is going on, unlike in the fall, there were some significant rule changes in the fall for those schools that played volleyball in the fall. You actually had to change the ball out every point.
Wow.
You also had a 3-foot sort of buffer at the net that you sort of couldn't cross when you were going up for a hit.
Right. It essentially took spiking out.
Exactly. Which is obviously a key part of the game. So those rules have been eliminated. So again, now you're going to see a more traditional game of volleyball. Again, they're not going to switch sides. I mean, they're limited. There are small changes where they typically change sides every set. That's not going to happen. Again, so there are changes, but I would say nothing, overly significant like we had in the fall. I mean, soccer and field hockey were different sports.
Well, we are certainly excited for the Fall 2 season, and we're going to show you what is coming up this next week for the Fall 2 season. So let's take a look. On Monday, March 8th, we have Hillers Swimming at 7 p.m. It'll be live on HCAM Ed and youtube.com/HCAMTV, as will all these other events. Thursday, March 11th, Hillers Girls Volleyball, JV at 3:30. That's JV2 at 3:30, JV1 at 4:45, and Varsity at 6 p.m. And also this Fall 2 season, be on the lookout for Hillers Freshman JV and varsity football games airing live. We'll have all home football, swimming, girls volleyball, and a unified basketball games live on HCAM during the fall 2 season. Some community events coming up. The Hopkinton Youth and Family Services will be hosting an open house via Zoom on Monday, March 8th. They have 2 times for that event, 11 a.m. or 6 p.m. You can see more details at our website, hcam.tv. And also, the Easter Bunny is coming to town. Hopkinton residents who would like the Easter Bunny to come to their house at a specific time between 1 and 5 on March 27th. They can send their address to Jen Dwinell, and all those details are at our website, hcam.tv. Also, the Hopkinton Women's Club will be holding its monthly meeting on Monday, March 8th at 10 a.m. on Zoom, and they ask that you join them. To receive a Zoom invitation, contact Judith Weinthaler, and you can find all the details at hopkintonwomensclub.org. And also, the Marathon Fund Committee will be awarding 10 $1,000 scholarships to graduating high school seniors who are residents of Hopkinton. All the details can be found at our website, hcam.tv. And the Hopkinton Center for the Arts has a number of great events coming up. Tomorrow night, they have their first Friday open mic, and that is going to be the first one in quite a while, featuring Alex Cabrisi. And then they'll have the HCA Summer Virtual Open House on March 6th. And of course, you can find all the events at the HCA at their website, hopkintoncenterforthearts.org. And also, the Spoon is reopened. They closed down for a while due to the pandemic, but they are now open for dine-in eating. And you can also order online as well. So we're happy to see the Spoon has reopened their doors. And tomorrow night, right here on HCAM, Friday, March 5th at 7 p.m., Cheryl Peralt hosts Common Ground Storytelling Series. And there'll be a number of storytellers. You can see the names listed on the slide here, and you can find all the details at our website, hcam.tv. This is our picture of the week. Hopkinton teachers took to the street this morning, that was back on March 3rd, to protest in front of the school administration office for COVID vaccinations for teachers. Mike Tarosian took this picture right in front of the Hopkinton School Administration office. And upcoming government meetings on HCAM on Sunday, March 7th at 12:30 p.m. There'll be a school committee workshop. You can catch that on HCAM TV. On Tuesday, March 9th at 7 p.m., there'll be the Conservation Commission. And tonight, in about 3 minutes, the school committee over on HCAM Ed. So you could tune in to the school committee meeting as well. Well, believe it or not, we are just about out of time for this edition of HCAM News Live. We want to thank you for joining us, and don't forget, you can catch us every Thursday at 6:30 p.m. right here on HCAM. Thanks so much for joining us. Take care, be well, and we'll see you again next week.